Hello, welcome to another Loom Press podcast. Today we are here with a spoken word artist, the All Ireland 2025 spoken word champion, Eva Marie Lucy. How are you today, Eva?
Hi, Lee. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're through the worst month of the year now, January, so we should be heading towards greener pastures from this point on. Um, so yeah, you're the All Ireland champion. How does it feel?
Um, well, for the first while, it was very surreal, and I had massive imposter syndrome. But I'm starting to learn to claim and enjoy it, and just look at it as a incredible opportunity to share my work with people, and to be able to compete with people on such level and at such high standards. It's really cool. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say it is surreal. You never thought you'd be in this. I suppose you said you had some imposter syndrome. But I suppose it doesn't last long. I suppose it's only you have it for the year. I suppose you can defend the title, I presume, or how does it work? Do you know, in the spoken word field? Um, does it have to be passed on to someone else in a year's time, or can you keep it?
Yeah, I'll have to give it away to someone else at the end of 2026. But I'm more than happy to look forward to who else is gonna pop up on the
Pop up,
scene
yeah,
and
yeah.
take it away from me.
Very good. I suppose I want to begin with, I suppose, a bit about yourself. Am I right in saying, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but English isn't your first language?
That's correct. I'm originally from Belgium, born and raised. So my first language is Dutch. I taught myself how to speak English from watching Full House reruns on TV. And now here we are.
Yeah, that reminds me of another poet, Christina Henneman, who we had on the podcast before. I think she said she learned, she's German, but she was learning English from studying the lyrics of Westlife, you know. Um, so yeah, that's crazy. Fair play. And I suppose like it's one thing to learn another language. I mean, I myself, I'm 600 days into Irish on Duolingo, and I can barely string a sentence together, you know. But here you are winning competitions in in spoken word. What got you into? Were you always into poetry and spoken word, or did you maybe were you interested in poetry and then it sort of grew into spoken word, or how did it begin for you?
I've always been into writing. I kept diaries on multiple subjects as a teen and early 20s, mostly on my love life, as any young girl would,
Yeah,
with the glitter pens. But yeah, I don't know. It only turned into poetry when I moved to Ireland. I I'd stumbled into the circle sessions with a coworker who wanted to check it out, see what the sus is, and thought it's just a night of free entertainment. Let's go.
yeah,
And I saw these other poets get on the stage and share their work with the audience. And looking at them, I just kept thinking, oh, I kind of write like that. Oh, my diary kind of sounds like that. Could I eventually, if I tweak it a little bit, could it work on a stage? Um, and it took me a couple months to find the courage to actually do so. But in the beginning, I just read from my diary. It wasn't anything poetic or anything within a format. But the more I kept doing it, the more it kind of started morphing into this spoken word slash poetry format, I guess. And the more that it became a natural instinct for me to start writing in that way, I guess.
yeah. The circle sessions is a great sort of venue and platform for people to start out. So you weren't writing your diary in sort of a rhyming fashion from a young age. It just kind of you took the stories and sort of added that poetic feel. Very good. Um, and were you really like starting out? Were you like terrified, or did it come naturally to you to sort of be on stage?
The only thing I remember from the first time being on stage is the sound of my knees kind of like hitting each other I was trembling physically, and I was reading off my phone as you do at an open mic, and I just couldn't read because I kept shaking the phone too much. So, but yeah,
That's
it's like you said, circle sessions is such a supportive environment, such a safe environment to. I'd say that about all the open mics on the Dublin scene.
yeah,
Everyone's so willing to just give you the time of day, even when what you're bringing is not necessarily good yet. It's a safe space for growth
it
for
is. Yeah.
sure.
Um, that was a great example there of show not tell. Just like, knees clacking off each other. Yeah, no, Dublin it is a great place. For I suppose like everyone's sound. You know, everyone's just welcoming and um
How did you experience that? Like on your first taking on a stage, what was your experience? Were you nervous?
I think I was, yeah. But I would just I'd swallow about 4 pints and that would kind of ease the nerves. But I don't know. I've always kind of made a fool of myself at times. So I was just I think I had no shame. You know, I would like whatever. You know, it's like just go with the breeze. Whatever happens, happens. You know, I'm not taking this too seriously. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I wouldn't. I do enjoy reading poems like on the stage, but I suppose I wouldn't class myself as a performance poet really. But I suppose that brings me to the next question. Talking about stage poetry and page poetry. I'd like to ask you because obviously you're the All Ireland champion, and I just be you said I suppose you began writing, but then you kind of transitioned to being on the stage. In your opinion, what is the difference? What is the difference between a page poet and a stage? And I know it sounds like a stupid question. It might be very simple, but there is a difference, I think. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. What is the difference, do you think, between a stage poet and a page poet?
I think on stage, it's not just what you wrote that matters, it's how you deliver it as well. And the connection you're building live on stage with the audience matters just as much. Sort of feeling you're bringing, the emotion behind your voice, the movements you do, the pace you take on, it's all part of the poem. It's not just you write it at home and then you come and deliver it and all the work is done at home. You really have to consider all the aspects of the performance as part of the poem or part of the delivery. And on a page poem, it, you can't hide behind any of the other aspects. It's just the words that matter, and
Yeah.
there's less control of how people perceive it as well. I'd say people read and kind of interpret it in their own ways, or how they would read it, how they would speak it out loud.
Mm.
Um, so you have to be more considerate, I think, with how you put any kind of metric or any kind of cadence or any kind of um, format into your words, because it's all you have is the words. And in a performance, every performance can be different, and a poem can keep growing every time you deliver it.
Mm.
Whereas on page, that's what it is, and you can change it, but the second you share it, it's no longer yours.
Yeah. Yeah, because I suppose, yeah, like you said there, you deliver the words, and I suppose the audience will take it at face value, what your tone is, what the emotion is, what the feeling is, and I suppose maybe less room to interpret compared to what a page would deliver. Maybe. What do you prefer? Probably obvious, but would you prefer? Would you rather be known as a page poet or a stage poet?
I enjoy writing page poetry just as much as I enjoy writing performance pieces, but I find it way more terrifying to share something on a page than to get on a stage in front of people and deliver it myself.
So you say
Because
you find it way more terrifying to share poetry on a page.
I do, yeah,
Why?
because once you share it, you have no control over it anymore. It's and you can't always read people's reaction to what you're sharing. It's on other people's phones, in other people's hands, in the books. It's You're not there to witness their reaction, and you can't control
Mm,
it.
mm,
Whereas on stage, it's obviously, especially in the beginning, it's nerve-wracking to get on a stage in front of people and to share very vulnerable things through poetry. But at least I can see how people are reacting. You get direct feedback, and I feel, for me personally, the reward is a lot bigger when I can feel that connection building in the room. When I say something, I share something, and I can see someone reacting to it or showing emotion when I share something. It's
mm.
that direct feedback and that direct connection that's built that I can also witness. That's part of the reward for me, is seeing that someone can relate to what I say. And when it's shared on a page, I might not get that feedback. I might not get that connection unless someone actively reaches out to you after they've read something, but it's a lot less immediate.
I've never thought of it like that. Yeah. I suppose on stage you're seeing the reactions live, and I suppose when you put something on paper, like in printed form, yeah, it's out there, and you don't really know how it's being interpreted or how it's been um, read, or and I guess it's permanent as well. I suppose at least if the performance goes badly on stage, people forget about it. It's fine unless they record it, but they'll probably forget about the video. But if it's kind of written down, it's like that'll always sort of be held to you or associated with you. So I suppose there is maybe more. It's weird, yeah, because I always thought being on stage would be scarier, but I suppose you do put a good point there about the page. Um, yeah, it's in black and white,
For sure. I also think just how, when you're performing it live, it's it's not that I am writing for other people. I very much write to process. It's cheaper therapy. I call it poetry. Um, but to be able to get on a stage and kind of shout like, "Ah, this is how I'm feeling. Does anyone relate, or am I insane?"
Mm,
And to kind of feel like other people go through what you're going through, or have gone through in the past what you're going through, or have had similar experiences, especially when you're writing about very personal subjects, it can be very comforting.
mm, yeah. Um, no, I agree. I think so. I suppose as well. I really it's a strange thing because in the last I was talking recently to Leon Dunn, and he like when you think about it, spoken word poetry is actually probably the oldest form of like it's probably older than page poetry, but I think a lot of people forget that. And Leon was telling me that if basically spoken word poetry was kind of maybe not looked down on, but maybe not taken as seriously as paid like as a page poet, and they didn't get the sort of support from like institutions and things like that. It's starting to happen more now, which is great. Um, but why do you think stage poetry is only coming into its own now, like at this time? Like, well, it's been the scene in Dublin has kind of existed properly for the last 25 plus years, maybe give or take, as we know it now. But it's only now in the last few years it's coming into its own. Why do you think that is?
I think people have been trying to categorize spoken word poetry very much under different umbrellas, and not it's never really been given its own category. Like, is it something we should just put with the poets because it is poetry? Is it something we should just put with the musicians because it's a performance art? Is it something that should just be categorized as theater or as comedy even sometimes? There's never really been it's never really received its own umbrella or its own spotlight. I feel like it's been shoved in corners or kept very folk as well, because I do believe in Ireland it is at the root of your culture to do storytelling and to share verbally. Um, but it's something that is mostly portrayed in pubs, in at parties, just like as a corner of your social life, and not necessarily as a recognized and institutionalized art form.
Yeah.
And we're outgrowing that, and it's great to see that spoken word is being recognized as its own art form, as its own category, and that it deserves its own institution behind it as well.
Well, do you know what the poetry, or I should say, the spoken word scene is like in Belgium?
Um, Belgium, and I'm not just saying Belgium, many other European countries, from what I've seen, don't have the cultural roots of storytelling and of sharing verbally like Ireland does. So spoken word in Belgium is something that's more is blown over from America, and I, from what I can see, the influences are very like American slam, and the style is slightly different, but it definitely is alive there. I have never been a part of it. I've never really performed in Belgium. I've only performed in Belgium once at an open mic. I've never really connected with other Belgian performers, so I can't really speak for them. Um, but from what I can see and what I've been following, it's definitely got that slam style to it. Where like in Ireland, I feel like it has more of a like a folky storytelling aspect to it.
Yeah.
Every country's gonna have its own style, I guess, and you can often tell just from the poem where someone's from, the more like involved you are in the scene, I guess. I don't know. Is that something you have seen as well, or like
Like in how
poetry and page poetry as well?
what spoken word is like in other countries, like.
Yeah, or even page poetry. Like, do you see stylistic differences?
Um, well, if we're talking about spoken word, I'm quite. I'm in some ways. I'm really only. So I'd say I'm only familiar with spoken word as we have it here in Ireland and the UK. I'm actually quite ignorant to the rest of the world, um, which is a shame. But I do want to, like, you know, I suppose, become more knowledgeable about how it is in different countries. But I know, like, they have obviously the world champions and things like that. But I don't, I haven't ventured that far, unfortunately. This is all, I'd say, really getting into the spoken word scene is kind of in the last 2 years, I would say, for me. And there's so much happening here. It seems like, I don't know, and again, it could be ignorance on my part, but it just feels like there's uh, such a strong scene in Dublin. I don't know. Would you like? I would say it probably could be one of the best in the world. It seems like everyone knows each other. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's the same in. I wouldn't even say it's the same in England. There seems to be pockets of people around the country in England, but there doesn't seem to be a sort of a cohesive unit like there is in Dublin, say, for example. Would you agree with that? Or
Absolutely. I've not seen it like this happening elsewhere personally. Obviously, it might be ignorance on my part as well, but the sense of community behind the spoken word scene in Dublin, I feel, is something that truly transcends lots of other poetry scenes elsewhere. Um, it's a matter of having good pillars in a community, and people who've like shot the roots and done the work for decades that have come before someone like me who's only been around for the past 2-3 years. um, but also just having people who are genuinely excited for everyone to succeed and do well, because spoken word is already such a tough category in itself to really succeed with, or make progress with, when it comes to monetization, building a career out of it, getting um, proper funding for gigs, getting proper spotlights on us at festivals and at events. Um, as we're already overlooked enough, it's not like we're competing with each other. We genuinely want everyone to do well, and when someone else succeeds, it's a success for all of us. And that mentality, I think, is what truly sets Dublin apart from everywhere else, because there's no hostility. We all want everyone to do well, and a win for one is a win for all of us.
That's very true. Yeah, I think there is that. I really get that feel. And I've never even competed, but I just as an observer, like I've judged a couple of times, but it's there is that feel, and even when I was talking to Mike Gary, I don't know if you know Mike Gary. I'm sure you do. No,
I've the name, but I don't think I know him personally.
no, he's like gone on tour with John Cooper Clarke. But I asked him recently. He was on the podcast as well, actually. But I
Oh,
asked him. I said, "Do you ever feel competitive? Like um." And he said, "Never, always," which I thought was cool. He's like, "Oh yeah, like at one level he's very like, he's rooting for everyone and all that stuff. But there's always that little bit of ego, niggling there at the bottom. Do you ever find that deep, deep down within yourself? Like obviously you're in the competition. I presume you want to do well. Like otherwise you wouldn't compete. Do you ever feel that sense of competition, or that like I want to get there? What do you think?
I think I'm mostly competing with myself when I participate in competitions. It is also something I just kind of stumble in. Um, I hadn't even enlisted for the Leinster Slam, but they didn't have enough people to come and do it. So I got asked like, can you please come and join the competition? I'm like, all right, sure, I'll do it. And then
Yeah.
there you are.
Remember, yeah,
So
there was a serious flu going around that time. I remember actually. It was crazy when people dropped out. But yeah, sorry, go on. You were saying, um,
it's also such a difficult thing to talk about when you have won multiple
yeah.
competitions, because like it's very different to experience it in that way than to
I've never
participate.
lost. I've never lost. So I don't know
Oh
what it's
wow,
like.
I definitely lost before. But I've always lost to people that I truly look up to as poets, and that's not a loss to me. When I compete, I'm mostly trying to really do the best I can, and just make sure that what I'm delivering is to the best of my abilities. And sometimes that's the best out of the bunch to win.
Hmm,
But it's such a subjective thing as well, poetry. So
yeah,
I've been at competitions where I think like, oh, that person is definitely going to win because I admire that person's work and I think their delivery and their performance is incredible. And then they don't even qualify, when there's other competitions where like, oh, I know who's going to win and that person shoots at the top immediately. You can never really fully predict it, as art is a subjective thing and it's really hard to grade. And you've been a judge at competitions. Did you find it tough?
it was. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, I always enjoy seeing the show. And it's cool. But yeah, I don't really like. I don't like it. I'm not really like again. I go on stage and I'll do a poem. But I'm not really. I wouldn't class myself as a spoken word poet as such. I do want to get more into it. I do want to explore it more. Um, but I feel like who am I to be judging these people? Like if I was compete with these guys on stage, they'd trash me. I mean, like it's unbelievable. Like you see Mikey Cullen with like a 9 minute monologue, and it's unbelievable. And you're like, you know, um, and then you see like you see people as well, like even with movement on stage. I find like some of the most powerful artists actually move very little. They're very economic in their movements. If they move, there's a purpose to it. I remember there was one woman who was just tapping her foot,
Yeah,
and it was she was trying to mimic water dropping, and it was
that
that.
poem.
Do you remember it? Did you see it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
and it was
seen
like
it.
she was. It
Incredible.
was a poem about dementia, and how just it drips and drips and then fills up, and like that was a very simple movement, but it like actually had purpose. And I'm thinking, geez, that's brilliant. So, but I sit there and I think I have no right to be judging these people, but like I've been asked to do it a couple of times, um, It is tough, and like you said, the judges go away afterwards and they sit there and they debate, and it might be someone who like you judge it on content and you judge it on performance. There's some people who have great presence, they perform really well, um, they've gripped the audience, but then the content is judged. So if the content is sort of maybe lacking in substance or is shallow or whatever, that's taken into consideration as well. But it is subjective. So I don't know. It's a funny one. Sorry, I've gone off topic. I don't even know what we were talking about there. What was the question? It was just how do I like judging? Yeah. I don't, but it's a night out and a few pints, and it's good to see all. Good to see everyone. Can I ask about your process, your writing process? Do you would you sit there with a copy in front of you and would you speak it out as you're writing it and see how it sounds, or do you just write it in your head or how does it work? Because I was trying to sit down today actually, and I'm trying to. I really want to get, as I said, get into spoken word, but I was thinking, how will this sound? It's one way on a page, but it sounds like obviously as a performance, very different. What's your approach?
Um, it takes me quite a long time to finish a spoken word piece compared to a page poem. When I write page poetry, it's done in same day, let's say. Whereas from the first conception of an idea for a spoken word piece to when it's actually finished, that's a process of weeks, sometimes months. I don't know. I have a very loud inner monologue. So when I'm writing, I can hear it in my head, I guess. Am I hearing voices? I don't know. Maybe I should be checked for my sanity. But it's I do read it out loud after every couple of lines or something that I'm working on them. Um, I'll type something. I don't really write with pen to page because I keep changing my words at all times. I keep playing around with the order of things too much to really do it on page. I'd have to go through an entire stacks of paper to be able to finish one poem. Um, so I'll have this idea or something. I'll write it out. It's maybe 4 lines, and then I'll say it out loud, see how it flows, see if all the I don't know words kind of have a nice cadence. If it's not pleasant to my own ear, I'll play around with it until it fits. I guess in a similar way that musicians would have to.
Mm.
Um, but I mostly start with content and subject, make sure that everything I want to pour into it, mostly based on emotions, is on the page. And then I'll start playing around with the format or the metric. And sometimes you're just walking around and you hear two words strung in the same sentence. You're like, oh, that kind of sounds nice.
Mm.
Like, oh, those words kind of flow well together. I'll use that in a poem and kind of keep track of them all. Have a
Mm.
long list of notes in the notes app, just with words that sound nice together, and then I'll just try and put them in my work.
Do you think spoken word poetry is really poetry for the people? Because I find when you and again not all page poets, but you look at some page poets and what they're writing about is very obscure, and I'd imagine that would have no place on a stage. You would just bore the whole off the audience. Um, what do you think?
Um, I'd say it's definitely well, you can go as pretentious or unpretentious as you want in a spoken word piece as well. But from what I can tell, especially the spoken word scene in Dublin, it's very accessible and I think also a great gateway to poetry for a lot of people. Um, from what I hear from other Irish people in Dublin who have nothing to do with poetry, all they know about poetry comes from the Leaving Cert.
Mm.
Um, and I hear that's making great progress in what's being added to that list as well. But it's so much more than that. It can be so interactive. It can be such fun. I mean, have you heard Leon Dunn's chicken fillet roll
I was
poem?
just about to say that.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
anything Ryan does. His poetry is so much fun to listen to. You don't need to be a poet or you don't need to study poetry to be able to enjoy it.
Mm.
So there's a lot of accessible poetry, but I've also heard poems performed as spoken word pieces that I'm like, I'm gonna have to look up about 6 words in the dictionary now to be able to understand what that was about. Um, and it's the same in page poetry. You've got very obscure and abstract and in some people's eyes pretentious poetry, but then there's really fun, accessible page poems as well that you're just like immediately like, yeah, that reads well, that's fun. I can share that with my coworkers who've never opened a poetry book by choice
Mm.
and they're gonna enjoy it. So
Yeah.
it depends who's holding the pen, I guess.
Because I remember, well, you not that you were there, but we went to England for Andy Porter. He's one of the poets we published, and we brought Ryan and Leon with us, and they performed at his launch, and the whole village came out, the whole village of Barrow, Great Barrow, and I think they all had this notion of, oh, poetry, here we go, you know. But then they came out, and then they see they see Leon and Ryan, and as you said, very accessible, very fun, and I think people came out thinking like, I didn't realize poetry could be this, you know. This is amazing, you know. Um, but we have 8 minutes left. Can I ask you, would you be open to before? I don't know if this is the space for you in a little screen. It's probably won't do you justice, but would you be open to doing a little piece maybe here on the podcast?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can do a little piece. I'll do a short one. That I'll do the first piece that I ever shared with anyone that I could truly say that's a poem. Um,
Yeah.
it's called Clementines. I don't know. It, it's not even the poem that I think, oh, that's my best poem ever. It's definitely not. But it's so highly personal, and there's so much of me in that piece that I just love sharing it with people. Um, I don't know. Do you have like a similar poem that you've written that you know, like it's not my best poem, but to me it means the most?
Um, I'm a bit of a crowd pleaser. In that, uh, I think particularly because you know when you're like again, I'd be friends now with Ryan and Leon, and like I've my serious poems, you know, but then I've got my fun poems. So I think I keep the fun poems for the stage because I don't want to be up with like a 2 page just kind of serious poem. I think there's a place. I probably keep the more personal ones to myself actually um, at times, but yeah, that's just me. But I might try to get a balance, you know. Anyway, sorry, I'm taking up your time here. So we've about 6.5 minutes, but you've a nice kind of blank background there anyway uh, to the sort of a stage or a canvas. So well, if you're happy to go ahead with Clementines, then we'd love to hear it.
Sure. I ask if you want half of my clementine. You smile, nod your head no, gaze falls back on a crossword puzzle in your lap. I watch how your glasses catch the light and how it reflects on the skin below your eyes. With love in my fingers, I split the fruit in its segments, carefully pluck each white bit, and as my fingernails turn orange, I rest my chin on your shoulder to help with 5 across. Slowly feed you slice by slice as you fill in the letters you are sure of. The sun sets and paints the kitchen tiles golden, and I don't think you realize, but you've eaten half of my clementine after all. I'll quit.
Lovely. That I think you'd performed that at Kilcock actually once.
I might have, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd love to listen to you read an audiobook.
An audiobook,
An
really?
audiobook, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think my accent is strong enough for that. Maybe.
I don't know. You have an accent. You have a pleasant voice. So yeah,
I've
that's
always
okay.
been very conscious about my speaking, which is very weird as a performance artist because that's what I do. But um, I had a lisp until I was 24, and then I had to go in speech therapy because I was studying to become a teacher, and you can't have a lisp when you're teaching kids. Um, And I think I still have a lisp in my head, but I'm so very conscious of it when people ask me to read something that I have that's not just me sharing something, that my lisp will show.
That's terrible. I mean, I think people will get used to hearing, like, I've had lectures with lisps as well. Maybe it's because of third level that people don't. Kids could be cruel maybe, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, but I think your accent is definitely a unique selling point. I think it adds to your performance as well. So yeah, but anyway, we only have a few minutes left, but Ava, it's been wonderful having you on the podcast.
Thank
And
you for having me.
yeah,
It's
and
been a
just
very
hopefully, well, for the last minute, maybe you can tell us, have you anything lined up this year? What's 2026 looking like for you? Um, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple cool things coming. I get to represent Ireland in the European Championship next fall, end of 2026. I get to go to Austria
oh,
and defend Ireland in the European competition. So
nice,
hoping to do everyone proud there.
nice.
And then I will be supporting Kev Kennedy, Heavy Kevy, at his Whelan's gig end of March, 29th of March, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely encourage everyone to go and check that out. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to Paris to share at an open mic night. I'm going to feature there Paris Lit Up. It's an English-speaking open mic night in Paris, and I'm very excited to go abroad with my poetry. Maybe
Yeah.
share my poems with people who haven't already heard them 10 times.
Yeah, you're on tour now, so I say enjoy it while you can. And well, look, yeah. So you've heard it there, folks. So if you want to check out more of Eva's work, there's plenty going on. Eva, it's been great having you, and hope we see more of you soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Right, mind yourself now. Thank you.
Bye bye.